All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakha Kodesh. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. All right, back again with some more information. This is from rtnews.com. Now, this is an article that came out, today, June 2nd. And it says here, the title is U.S. Facing Economic Hurricane. All right, and this is by JPMorgan. I believe this was the same one. JPMorgan was the same ones that said that we might be seeing $7 a gallon for gas by August. Okay, so now what I want to do is, when you look up the word hurricane, you have here a storm with a violent wind, in particular a tropical cyclone in the Caribbean. All right, and applying that, you have a superstorm, whirlwind, cyclone, tornado, storm, windstorm. So it's just a metaphorical way of saying that there's a destructive wind or turn about to hit this U.S. economy. Now, he said here, it says Jamie Dimon, or Dimon. Hold on 1 second. Let's get this right. Okay. Dimon. Yep.
Dimon.
That's right, Dimon. We're going to get that right. So, Jamie Dimon has warned of unprecedented challenges for the economy. Now, one thing that I like to do when I read these articles and go through them is picking it apart. All right? Slack it. Just give me 1 second. All right, is picking it apart. Well, what do I mean by picking it apart? Well, when you read these articles, you got to pay attention to like what are the concepts that they're talking about and what words are they using. Okay, because when it says he's warning of unprecedented challenges, you don't just read over that. Okay? Now, once again, you type in unprecedented, it says never done or known before. Okay? Never done or known before. So he is warning he has warned of unprecedented challenges for the economy. Now, if the economy is going to be facing, which it's already weak as it is, right? And it's going to be facing challenges that have never been done or never been seen before, how then do you start to fight against these challenges that you've never seen before? Okay? And then on top of that, you have a government that, quite frankly, doesn't care about fighting these challenges that they've never seen before. All right? So, in essence, what he is saying is brace for impact. So it says the boss, and I mean, looking at how things are going in a couple months, it's things are changing weekly. They're changing monthly. And the warnings are getting louder and louder and closer. It says the boss of Wall Street giant JPMorgan Chase, Jamie Dimon, Salakia, has warned investors that the U.S. is facing an economic hurricane as the latest challenges posed by the Fed's tightening monetary policy and the Ukraine-related crisis are unprecedented. That hurricane is right out there down the road coming our way, Dimon said, speaking at a conference sponsored by Alliance Bernstein Holdings on Wednesday. We don't know if it's a minor one or Superstorm Sandy. You better brace yourself, the CEO said, adding that it's too late or it's too soon to say how intense the storm would be. Now, let's see, the crash of 19, I'm trying to remember, 1905, 1908. JPMorgan. There was a crash that was a panic of 1908. I think that's what it was. I know there was a time, I can't remember exactly when it was, but I think it was JPMorgan that warned of a panic it caused like this panic. I forget exactly. I think it was the panic of 1907. Let me take a look at that. The Panic of 1907. And I was reading about this. Yeah, I definitely think it was this year. It says the Panic of 1907 was known as the Bankers' Panic or Knickerbocker Crisis, was a financial crisis that took place in the United States over a 3-week period starting in mid-October when the New York Stock Exchange fell almost 50% from its peak the previous year. Um, yeah. Okay. So here's something right here. It says here that the panic might have deepened if not for the intervention of financier JPMorgan, who pledged large sums of his own money and convinced other New York bankers to do the same to shore up the banking system. Now, I believe the actual true story behind it was more along the lines of a manipulation of the minds of these investors that led to this panic, but it was really to benefit these elites. I think he had them. He told his employees to start selling, their stocks and bonds. I'm not an expert on it, but I'm trying to go as best from memory as I can to sell it rapidly, and that caused people to, to try and start selling their stuff. And then eventually, when the price went down, he told them to start buying it up again. Okay, now I think that was during this time of the Panic of 1907, or it might have been during another time. But I do remember that name JP Morgan being involved in there. So we know that, of course, they're a subsection of these elites. They're all intertwined. So when he says we don't know if it's a minor or super or Superstorm Sandy, that's not true. He does know. All right, they do know. But to the public, for the cover story, it has to seem organic. So it says here, adding that it's too soon to say how intense the storm would be. We're now at the point where they're openly letting you know that we're trying to change this system. So that storm is going to be as strong as needed in order to help get this old out the way and bring the new in. That's what's happening now. All right. And people need to wake up and realize that there's a great transitioning going on. Literally. All right. And then the Lord described it as the beginning of sorrows. See, those famines are going to come. Okay. These food shortages are going to go from words to feelings real soon. And you won't need an article or a video or a news clip to tell you that there is no food. Your stomach is going to tell you that there is no food. And you trust me, you don't want to hear it from there. According to the head of the nation's biggest bank, U.S. consumers still have some 6 to 9 months of spending power left in their bank accounts. Dimon stressed that the government's demic stimulus is still padding consumers' wallets. But then again, now you factor in inflation, right? You factor in see, here's the thing about when they give out timelines and they say, okay, 6 to 9 months, or this amount of time. Things change daily. So from today you may say, okay, well, based on how things look from now, we can estimate that you have about 6 to 9 months of spending power. But by next week, you don't know what could happen that could exacerbate that and drastically cut that number to maybe 3 months. And as inflation continues to rage and we step into the dangerous territories of hyperinflation, you can now start to cut that even more. So that's the thing about the times we're in, is that it's constantly changing. They give you a time. They say, oh, by this time, things are going to look worse. But then the Lord can have it to where by half of that time, it's looking double, as bad. So there's really no sweet deliverance in sight for this world. Okay? For the elect, yes, but for this world, no. And even Biden came out and said it himself. He said, look, there ain't no magic button, magic switch we could just press and then boom, it just fixes everything. It says that fiscal stimulation is still in the pocketbooks of consumers. They are spending it, he said. Dimon also expressed concern about the conflict in Ukraine and the impact that it would have on global prices for crude oil, which would eventually spike up to $175 per barrel. Wars go bad, they go south. They have unintended consequences, he said, adding that the conflict is expected to further roil commodity markets across the globe, impacting the price of oil, gas, and wheat. And the thing is, who knows what they have in store, but now that they've seen that the whole thing with Russia and Ukraine is a very good excuse and reason and cover story, wouldn't it stand to reason that they would want to keep it going as much as possible, and whenever they can intensify it, they would, because then that would equate to speeding up the destruction of everything else. So that means that if, say, Russia is in reality, say Russia is in there, and Russia is saying, okay, well, we're here, but we're almost done accomplishing what it is that we came here for. Then the U.S. all of a sudden says, okay, now ask yourself, why is that now? When they said they would not in the beginning, they said, no, we're not going to send any arms or anything to Ukraine because we don't want to trigger Russia or do anything like that. We'll just throw sanctions on them, and that was good enough at first. But now that you see that the juice of your cover story is starting to go down a bit, you can't just keep on blaming Russia, and then it's like things are getting quieter and quieter. So now you say, oh, okay, now we're gonna send in some rockets, some missiles, some whatever you're gonna send in over there, some weapons, just call it that, right? Some weapons that can help Ukraine defend themselves. And then Russia says, look, that's going to add fire, logs to the fire. Well, guess what? That's exactly what they want. They want to keep that fire going because that fire is what they can present to the world and say, you know why there's a shortage in food and gas prices are going up and inflation is rising and all hell's getting ready to break loose? It's because this fire is going. See that fire? Pay attention to that fire. It says here, the top banker also expressed concerns that the U.S. Federal Reserve is starting to unwind its bond portfolio, a process known as quantitative tightening, or QT, at the same time as it is raising interest rates. We've never had QT like this, so you're looking at something you could be writing history. It says you're looking at something you could be writing history books on for 50 years, Dimon said. They do not have a choice because there's so much liquidity in the system. They have to remove some of the liquidity to stop the speculation, reduce home prices, and stuff like that. But what does that look like on the consumers who are not ready, who have never experienced something like this before, who quite frankly have no clue, for most of them, what does this even mean? And if they don't know what it means or how they're going to be affected by it, then how can they even begin to try and prepare for it? And the worst part of it all is they don't care. But they will care. All right, the scripture saying, in the latter time, ye shall consider it perfectly. Now, this is the book of Zephaniah, chapter 1 and 10. It says here, and it shall come to pass in that day, saith the Lord Yahweh, that there shall be a noise of a cry from the fish gate, and an howling from the second. And this is Zephaniah, going into the crash. All right, this crash of the governments and this economic system. Now, the fish gate and the second, these were actual locations, okay, back there, okay, in Israel, in Jerusalem. And it's the equivalent of saying there shall be panic on Wall Street, something like that, because we all know where Wall Street is. And we all know what goes on over there, right? It says here, well, really the modern day Wall Street, the ancient Wall Street was Maktesh, which it says right there in Zephaniah 1 and 11. So it says, and an howling from the second, and a great crashing from the hills. Okay. Now we know in the scriptures, there's times when you may see the term mountain or hills, and it may be referring to a physical mountain, but there's times when it also is a metaphorical way of referring to a government. all right, or a power structure. So you have mountains, which can represent major governments, and then you have hills, which can represent lesser governments. Okay, but nevertheless, there's still going to be a crashing. Verse 11, it says, "How ye inhabitants of Maktesh, for all the merchant people are cut down, all they that bear silver are cut off." Because Maktesh was like the ancient trading place, where you would have like different, like Phoenicians and, Israelites, and people would come there to trade at that area. Okay, so the inhabitants, those that were really around there, would be people that had things to trade, like merchants, and people, like it says, that bear silver. Now, when you look up Maktesh over here, if you're looking it up in the blue letter, you want to look it up on dictionaries. Maybe if you look at the Eastern's Bible Dictionary, it says here, Maktesh, mortar, a place in or near Jerusalem, inhabited by silver merchants. It has been conjectured that it was the Phoenician quarter of the city where the traders of that nation resided after the Oriental custom. So the modern day equivalent of that would be something like Wall Street, or in a sense, the stock market, where people buy stocks, sell stocks, trade, different things, so on and so forth. Well, and they make money. But here, the prophecy is that what? They're going to be howling. Why are they going to be howling? For all the merchant people are cut down, all they that bear silver are cut off. So what is going to cause that? Well, this economic hurricane, this economic crash. All right. And that's going to cause a lot of people to lose money, and a lot of people to go into a state of depression, really, because a lot of people are going to be losing a lot of things, man. Okay. And you're not going to be able to afford your regular living conditions that you may have been able to afford now. And that's going to cause a lot of hard times and tribulation, which is going to cause people to then take matters into their own hands, as is prophesied in the book of 2nd Ezra, the 15th chapter. All right, so anyway, with that, I'm going to end it here. Lord willing, that was edifying and informative unto the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Racha Kodash. Until next time, Shalom.